won't be able to open my video because the weather here and my network is a bit not stable.
Recording in progress.
I don't want to mess up our meeting. That's the first apology. The second apology is that we thought we will be done by 12, and 12 came, and we anticipated that it will be 12:30. Unfortunately, that was not that was beyond our control. So that's why we are now starting at 1:00. My sincere apology, and also apologizing on behalf of the staff, and also apologizing to Advocate Bono and his team and that of the department. We're not going to waste any time because we are again going back at 2:00. Can we get the roll call, Mr. Sakaza? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Chair, we've got following members from Honorable Chair.
What's the problem now?
Am I not audible? Hello?
No, you are audible now.
Oh, sorry, Chair. I was saying, Chair, we've got the following members. We've got Honorable Chair Dunjwa, Honorable Zuma, Honorable Nonsele, Honorable Baygram, Honorable Kado, Honorable Hinana, and Honorable Konto so far, Chair. And from the support staff, Chair, I've got myself, Poshi Antabeni, Sibongiseni Ngobo, Tebuho Mkwena, Sibongile Maputi. Thank you, Chair, from my side.
No, thank you very much. From the department?
Thank you, Chair. From the department, it's me, Temigos Mkalipi, who's leading the delegation, and I see Tebuho, our communication head, and Matapelo. I don't see anybody. If I've missed up anybody that I have not announced them, they can announce themselves, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Advocate Bono, your team?
Good afternoon to you, Chair, and the honorable members, and Mr. Mkalipi. I am alone from the ESC. I do see Asanda Mgaga from the Office of the Director of the CCMA on the participants.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. Any other guests? There are names here that I'm not familiar with. Can they please introduce themselves? I don't understand why guests now, when we are on virtual, are very reluctant to introduce themselves. I see there's somebody from PMG, and he is not, or she is not prepared to tell us, not unless it's his code or her code. And there's Zamangwevu Moshani. I don't know whether that one is from the department. And well, we welcome the TV and the parliamentary. Mr. Sakaza, these people were seen as being a ochrocratic, if that's the correct term. If somebody is told to introduce him or herself, and he does not want to do that, we'll take her off of this. We are not playing here. We are as if we are in a committee sitting. It's just like it's a normal committee sitting. Safe to say that it is virtual. Thank you very much, honorable member. Honorable members, today we are joined. We requested. In fact, it's a request from this committee that is called Essential Services Committee, which is led by Advocate Bono. He is here to just take us through. I don't want to say for noting, because I don't want to be seen as wanting to not to ask questions, but with an understanding that it is a beginning of a very long process. It's not something that is very easy to deal with, but want to thank him for for taking the initiative of just wanting to take us through as Parliament, because we are in the half of our term. We have never been in fact exposed or taken through of what exactly is this Essential Services Committee's mandate and its focus. Without wasting any time, Honorable Bono, I will hand over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I hope everybody can see my screen. Chair, we requested an engagement just to deal with two issues, and that's just compliance challenges with the ESC, as well as one section which we had engaged other stakeholders in relation to the amendment thereof. And just as a means of a background to the members, the ESC operational plan requires the ESC to engage stakeholders for legislative changes in order to strengthen essential services law. So as part of that, in the previous financial year, the ESC had identified two stakeholders, that being the ILO as well as NEDLEC, and for the current financial year, the Department of Employment and Labor, as well as the Portfolio Committee. And essentially what we sought to do as the ESC was to have an engagement with the named stakeholders on what we thought could be done to strengthen the essential services regime in the country. And perhaps before I get to that slide, so we went to NEDLEC last year. We had engagements. We had also spoken to the ILO to get a perspective of what other essential services regimes are and how do we fare in comparison to that. Now, one of the two issues, which is an issue around compliance, we will, as we all know, Section 65(1)(d) of the Labor Relations Act limits the right to strike for employees rendering essential services. Parallel to that is that before 2014, or with the amendments that came into effect in 2015, Section 72(2), which gave the ESC the right to designate minimum services in the country, allows certain number of employees who traditionally did not have that right to strike because of the Section 65 limitation to now participate in a strike. But having had this section and having implemented it now for a period of about 7 years, we have seen in these 7 years a number of strikes, more particularly in the public service, in essential services, as well as in local government, in municipalities. And we have seen that during these strikes, there's sometimes, and I say sometimes because it's not always the case, there's sometimes a degree of non-compliance where employees who are supposed to not to go on strike, but are supposed to ensure that the service continues whilst there being a protected strike, don't do that, and they end up also participating in a strike. Now, Section 71(b), A and B authorizes the ESC to monitor the implementation and observance of ESC determinations, minimum service agreements, and minimum services determinations. So what we do is that where there has been a strike, in essential services, we invoke Section 70B1 and we go to the parties to understand why did they go on strike, albeit that they are in an essential service. And a number of root causes have come out of these engagements. But what we have seen is that these root causes are sometimes, there are a variety. Some of them, we've seen that there are no consequences in cases of unprotected strikes. We've seen this particularly in the public service. One would look at the issue of no work, no pay. We've seen that in some cases, that is also not implemented. We also have noted that there is a lack of buy-in on minimum service agreements, particularly in the public sector, and that excludes, I must say, that excludes local government. Out of the 243 municipalities in this country, the ESC has in fact interacted with over 100 municipalities this far, and those municipalities have either concluded minimum service agreement or we have determined the minimums that they are supposed to maintain. So whilst we're making good strides in local government, we having some difficulties in the public service. And this comes at a difficult time where you have wage negotiations at the PSCBC, and we're a bit worried about it, but it's one of the issues that is a challenge to us. As I indicated, we had engaged NEDLEC on the issue, and we wanted to know, what do other disciplines provide for, and what is it that they do? Because if people go on strike and they are in an essential service, it makes a nullity of the work that we do, although we don't have control over them. And and even where parties have an MSA and they don't comply with the numbers, it means that the minimum service agreement is just good on paper. However, there's no compliance with such. And part of our recommendation has always been that there needs to be, either from the current institutions, whether that's the CCMA or the labor court, but there needs to be some strengthening from the current institutions on how this matter could be dealt with. The second issue, Chair and honorable members, relates to Section 72, and I'm just going to give a brief summary before I deal with that. You would note that when you are in an essential service, your alternative to strike is what we call interest arbitrations. So if there's a wage dispute and that wage dispute is not resolved and you have to go out to take action, your alternative to strike is interest arbitrations. However, what we discovered was that Section 72.5 is a bit problematic in that it requires parties to go for a ballot to even exercise this alternative, which is interest arbitration. And we thought that, if the matter could be dealt with, it then, to make interest arbitrations more accessible to parties in essential services. We all know the provisions of Section 272.5, which provides that despite subsection 3 and 4, Section 74, which is interest arbitrations, applies to designated essential services in respect of which essential services in respect of which the ESC, which is us, has ratified a minimum service agreement or has made a determination of minimum services if the majority of the employees employed in the essential service voted in a ballot in favor of this. And this was the challenge, that they have to first vote in order to access interest arbitrations. Now, essentially, interest arbitrations is only applicable in cases where the parties vote for it, which we see as a hindrance to it. And the first question if they do vote, is always, it depends on the outcome of the strike for the resolution of that dispute. Now, this is an illustration of a minimum service agreement where currently the small circle in a strike. So if we say this is a hospital, just to make a practical example, you would have that inner circle, the one that is pink, and the bigger circle, which is green, which represents the entire hospital, and the smaller one, which represents the minimum service. Those are the number of employees who are supposed to continue rendering the essential service. Now, those employees, their outcome, as you would have seen, they are not picketing like the other ones. Their form of resolving their dispute is through interest arbitration. And what we are putting forward is that in order to make that interest arbitration accessible to them and appealing to them, we need to eliminate the bureaucracies around that. But however, even the issue of balloting has its own challenges, because we live in workplaces which have multiple unions. So if we accept that in that hospital, there is Denosa and there is Nehau, for an example, and I'm not even going to name the others. And if there's a dispute on those essential services employees, part of the questions that have to be answered, which are not clear in reading section 72, is who ballots. So if this is a Nehau issue, is it only Nehau who ballot? And how do you work out the 50%? Because it must be majority. Or if it is a Denosa issue, must it only be Denosa that ballots? Or because they work together, all of them must ballot, so that you can work the 50+1% on all of them that ballot. So these are some of the challenges that we face as the ESA, and that we constantly have to try and assist parties in dealing with them. Now, as I indicated, we've had engagements on the issues and with the Department of Employment and Labor. And at some point last year, we were finished with a proposal. We understand the process has not commenced yet. And we were pleasantly surprised to see that section 72.5 and 6 have been deleted. However, section 72.3 still remains. And section 72.3 says that section 74, which is interest arbitrations, is not applicable. If you look at section 72.3, subsection B, it says it's not applicable. Interest arbitrations are still not applicable to those parties, which we think that is an omission. And we've taken discussion with the department in this regard, and there is a degree of consensus, certainly between the ESC and the department, that to attend to the matter. As I said, we of the view that it was an omission. You can't delete 5 and leave 3, and in those discussions we have found one another. Having said that, I must just say that one would ask the question is, then why are we talking about this if we have found ourselves with the department? As I indicated, we had decided on the stakeholders to approach in the previous financial year already, and we thought that we need to be proactive and come to this honorable committee, portfolio committee, and so that people understand where do we come from with these ideas. And we certainly of the view that these issues will strengthen essential services law, in that it will make interest arbitrations attractive to the people. As we stand currently, there are very few cases of interest arbitrations in essential services that go to the CCMA. And that is a concern for us, because that is supposed to be the primary dispute resolution mechanism for essential services before looking at, engaging on a strike. Where to from here? We seek assistance in ensuring that there's compliance, with the prescripts of essential services law, and also the correction of section 72.3. We think that it's something that will go through with the process of enacting the amendments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Advocate Bono. Honorable members, there is the presentation with understanding that honorable members will be asking questions of clarity. I've been informed that we are live on channel 408, so we are therefore requested to, when we speak, we show our faces. So that's why I have to ensure that I find a place which is then not going to disturb me. Over to you, honorable members, for any questions. I will check the hands.
I do have,
I
Madam
will
Chair,
come to you. It's Honorable Pegram, Honorable Mkondo, and I will then request that when there is a speaker on the floor asking questions, other members, can they please mute their mics? That is going to start with me. So I've seen only two hands for now. It's Honorable Pegram and Honorable Mkondo. Over to you, Honorable Pegram.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you see me?
I can see you with your busy
Thank you.
office.
Thank you, yes. Messy office, sorry about that. Thank you very much for this report and for the outline and for some of the wishes that we are hoping to see in the future from the essential services. I first of all want to thank the essential services for handling their cases efficiently and actually superbly well. So thank you very much for that. And I applaud Advocate Bono for the work that he's doing. It really is essential work and we need to strengthen their arm. The one issue I do have, and I'm expecting this in the future, I'm expecting to see a lot more service delivery issues where staff of the various service delivery institutions will probably be joining the service delivery strikes. And I think we need to somehow convince the Minister of Employment and Labour to invoke not only Section 150 of the Labour Relations Act, but a lot more of the powers of the Essential Services Commission and Committee. And I don't know what you feel about it, but I suspect as times get tougher and as the municipalities get poorer, that we're going to see more of that. And I think your Essential Services Commission is going to be coming to the fore, where we need to work more closely, where the department needs to work more closely, both with you and the CCMA. So thank you very much for the report.
Thank you, Honorable Pegram. Honorable Mkondo.
Thanks very much, Chair. Good morning to you, Chair, honorable members, colleagues, and Chair. Thanks for we welcome the presentation. I have one question, two questions, Chair. The first one, I can hear from the presentation the focus is now on public institutions. My question is that the only sectors that they are focusing on, or maybe it's just a start, they will continue to go to the private sector? And then the last question, Chair, which is the second one, is who identifies these essential workers? Do they go to an institution and assist in identifying, or they capacitate the institution to identify the essential workers themselves? And as to are these essential workers, are there any workshops for them, or maybe in the future, to understand as to why are they identified as essential workers, and that it is important for them to avail themselves, even during whatever dispute, to execute their duties. Thanks very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mkondo. Those were the only two hands. Those are the only two hands. Honorable Bono, over to you.
Um,
We would also like to see
Thank
your
you.
face.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. And thank you for the questions, Honorable Bagram. Your comments are in fact true, and we've already started working closely with the CCMA. We always have been. I can even give you an example of an intervention that we're doing together in the city of Cape Town, in fact, to try and ensure that the dispute resolution mechanism in essential services is effective. And therefore, if it is effective, there are less strikes and there are less disputes. And part of the program that was initiated by the ESC and we're working closely with the CCMA, and the CCMA is implementing those programs in the city of Cape Town. Only next week, there's a BWR, that building workplace relations, that is going to be done there. And we continue to work together in a number of other workplaces to ensure that essential services dispute resolution mechanisms are tight, and that only as the last option, you will see employees getting involved in strikes, particularly in essential services. To come to Honorable Member Mkondo, yes, the focus is not necessarily on public. I was mentioning public service as an example, but we do a lot of work in private sector. In fact, in the health sector, we've concluded numerous minimum service agreements, and we've done numerous minimum service determinations in services that are rendered in the private health. Unfortunately, for public service, we have to go through the PSCBC. The second issue is who identify the workers. It is not the workers that are essential, it is the service. And there are only two ways in this country that a service can be designated as an essential. One, it is through legislation. For an example, SAPS is designated as an essential service through the definition, which is in the Labor Relations Act. And also electoral services are designated as an essential service through the Electoral Act. The second a way in which a service may be designated as an essential service is when we, as the ESC, designate such a service following an investigation that we do. The last issue being workshops, we do. We do a lot of and we assist with facilitations, and we are there when they need assistance to explain to them what are their rights. You know, they begin at A and end at a particular point. And as I indicated, some of the assistance that we give to employees and employers, we do in collaboration with the CCMA. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much, Advocate Bono. And thank you very much, members, for questions that you have asked, with an understanding that this is quite an empowering presentation, like all other presentations, but this is of very much public interest, particularly within the space of workers. And therefore, it's going to be important that you come closer to us, we come closer to you through the Department of Employment and Labor and CCMA. And as we move forward with these amendments that you are proposing, and I hope that as you will be consulting, you will really be consulting with everybody, in particular the labor space. I'm saying labor because at times people, when you talk about labor, they think that you are only referring to one federation, whereas we've got more than one federations, and it is therefore your responsibility to ensure that you communicate with them, even those that are independent, some of the unions. It will be very important. And thank you very much. You will keep us abreast. Obviously, you are still going to come back to us, where we'll then ask you pointed and critical questions. Having said that, critical and crucial questions. Having said that, Honorable Bono, thank you very much for your initiative. And yeah, I think we are done with your presentations. But honorable members, you must be aware that we are not done with our committee work. We are now going to be dealing with our minutes, and you are then the department and Mr. Bono are free to leave. In fact, you are released.
Thank you.
Please, if you may leave us alone to do our housework. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
You will indicate, Mr. Sakaza, if all of them are gone so that we deal with our minutes.
I will do so, Chair. Let me start sharing now the first minute.
Please.
They are gone, Chair. You can continue.
Thank you, honorable members. There are the minutes of the 4th of May 2022, and I'm of the understanding that these minutes were shared to us. It was the consideration of the adoption of the draft report on budget, on our budget for 31, and the committee draft program. There is the attendance. There's the attendance. It's page 1. Okay. Thank you, honorable members. Any comments, any corrections? None. Can we get a formal mover of the minutes of the 4th of May? Can we get a mover of the minutes of the 1st of May?
Chairperson, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Honorable Zuma.
Yes, good afternoon, honorable members. I, Sibongile Zuma, I formally move for the adoption of the minutes of the 4th of May. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Zuma. Can we get a seconder?
Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm Matthews Vomarans, Chairperson. Hereby second the adoption of the minutes that discussed Budget 31 on the 4th of May. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Vomarans. Mr. Sakaza. There are the minutes of the 11th of May, where we consider the adoption of our report and also the draft minutes. There is the attendance register with apologies and absentees. Page 1. Whose dogs are these? Page 2. Okay. Thank you very much. Any comments, any corrections? None. Then we get a formal mover of the minutes of the 11th of May.
Chairperson,
Honorable Zuma.
I, Sibongile Zuma, I formally move the adoption of the minutes of the 11th of May 2020. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we get a second?
Chairperson.
Yes, Honorable Nonsele.
Yes, I Nonsele, Nonsele, support the motion by Honorable Zuma for the adoption of the minutes of the 11th of May. So I move.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sakaza. Thank you. Those are the minutes of the 25th of May 2022. Briefing by the Productivity SA in their second quarter and the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration, known as CCMA. There is the attendance. Page 1, page 2, you. Thank you, Mr. Sakaza. Any comments, any corrections? I'm asking this because we have been given these minutes. They have been with us for more than 3 days. So, well, none. Can we get a formal mover?
Chairperson,
Yes, Honorable Zuma.
I, Sibongile Zuma, I formally move the adoption of the minutes of the 25th of May 2022. I thank you.
Thank you. Can we get a seconder? Unfortunately, I can't.
Yes, Chair.
Honorable Nonsele?
Yes, Chair. Yes, Chair. I'm Notice Nonsele. Formally support the motion by Honorable Zuma for the adoption of the minutes as submitted. So I move.
Thank you. Last set. Thank you very much. The minutes of the 1st of June 2022, briefing by NEDLEC and Compensation Fund on their quarter 2. There's the attendance register and apologies, absentees. Thank you. Can we get a formal mover?
Hello, Chair.
Honorable Chair, it's
Okay.
Wolmaran.
Honorable Vormanas.
I'm Matthew Wolmarans, hereby move for the adoption of the minutes of the 1st of June regarding the brief by the department, NEDLEC, and the compensation fund. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Member. Can we get a seconder?
Honorable Chair.
Honorable Nontsele.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I formally second the motion moved by Honorable Volmarans for the minutes held on my birthday, the 1st of June, be adopted.
Oh.
So I move.
Thank you, Honorable Nontsele. So we are all happy belated birthday. So we are owing you a birthday present. Thank you very much, honorable members. Honorable Sakaza, I'm sorry, Mr. Sakaza.
Chair, that was the last minute.
Done. Yes. No, thank you very much, honorable members. Honorable members, there's a very important announcement. As members are aware that tomorrow, both groups are departing to their respected areas of deployment or visit in terms of the oversight, which is going to be Limpopo and Free State. We are leaving tomorrow. Just want to sensitize members that if you have not in advance apologized and your apology is accepted, you are going to take full responsibility of all what has been the logistical preparations by the department, by Parliament through the office of the House Chair. Not unless it is an apology that is beyond your control. And that will also be what, should I say, be weighed or tested by them. So please, can we ensure that we honor our oversight visit on this important task that we were given by the House. But also secondly, is that in their respective groups, can we please be disciplined in terms of adhering to time of arrival in transport, in areas where we are going to be. With those that I will be with them from labor in Free State. We will meet in Free State tomorrow. I think we're sleeping in Bloom. I don't know. I think Honorable Nontsele is in a team that is going to be led by Honorable Mandela, which is going to Limpopo. That was just the announcement that I wanted to make and make you, honorable members, to be aware that there is that task that we are to ensure that we commit ourselves on as we were part of the House that took that resolution. Having said that, our committee stand adjourned until we meet again. You can go for 50 minutes lunch. We're going back to plenary at 2 o'clock. Good afternoon until we meet again. In August.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you, everyone. See you.